So we are getting this waterfall really coming together now. What we've done here is really played with the architecture of these stones. So this big guy here, we had to use 2 pieces of equipment to get in. It was well over 3 tons, probably 3.5. Really big battle, but we really wanted to use it because we're going to be pushing water right over the corner of this guy. So we got this really big, beautiful weathered point at the top, and this one here is going to have water just barely coming to the edge, and then it canters and shoots the water in this direction, running all right over that on top of this guy as well. And then we're going to have a rill coming through here between there and actually running over the corner of that stone. So this is just going to have tons of water movement and action instead of just a sheer descent type waterfall. It's going to be very interesting. And then we'll have it coming over this as well. This one actually is going to drop there and right onto the basin. But I tell you, this is shaping up to be really a neat section. The other thing that we're going to do, you can see we've got a couple of our stones, steps started here. So we're coming up alongside this waterfall. What I'm really wanting to do, we're going to set one more step on top of that, and then an additional really long triangular one, and it's going to run right over the top of that support stone there. So you can literally walk right out to the edge of this section here and get up close and personal to that waterfall. It is going to be so cool. Okay, we have got this whole section almost completed, man. It is looking just phenomenal. We cannot wait to fire up this waterfall. This thing's gonna have so much action. But what I really wanted to point out is we've got this really killer set of ledge rock steps. They're gonna come right off this existing sidewalk that they already had in place. We'll butt that up to it, and then we're zigging and zagging back and forth. But what I really wanted to do is get them close right up to that waterfall. So we've got this really long, narrow, kind of a triangular step. And look at this, they can walk right out on the waterfall, and they're gonna be total turbulence just rolling through that whole section. We're gonna have kind of a split over here on this piece that is gonna be really cool. Water's gonna kind of roll right behind that point there and then just shoot right through that crevice. It's just barely gonna wanna come up on here and then roll back this direction, and we're gonna have a big rill shooting through that area there. Now we're getting ready to just find our boulders that we wanna put in place for this section. We're gonna try to turn this and twist it just enough that we can try to get that bend in the stream and hopefully build our waterfall facing this direction, so it's gonna drop like that, coming right at this ledge rock stairs. We got a big framing boulder on the left hand side, a couple intermediate ones. Gonna do some touch-up work with the liner there. But as you're coming up these steps, you're gonna be able to see this whole section. Look down into the basin where they culminate, and then this fall is gonna be facing right at you right here. Nice big twist and bend in the stream, water splitting around there, and then you'll eventually continue on all the way up to the steps to get to that little section there. We finally made it to the end of the day. It was a hot one today, but man, we really made some good progress. We got another 6 steps put in. This was our last one before we started today. We got this waterfall getting ready to get sealed up. We've got that guy. We've got our nice big turnstone there. It's going to create a nice twist in that stream. And then we got our another interaction step stone here. That's cantilevered out over the stream. We're gonna have a way to come out, put your feet in the water, sit there, enjoy, or you can take your trip right down the steps there. We finished off this top piece with some bigger pieces. We'll fill in some of his existing stuff just for that little gap there. But check out how we got this step back here. It really emphasizes that curve that we're trying to create. And then this waterfall is going to be insane. Tons of water volume coming through there, but we're going to have this big nice flat ledge piece there, and it's going to drop right back behind that. So it'll be a nice thick column of water going over that. And the best part is you're really seeing it from this front vantage point here, coming right down the sidewalk. So how those are all going down the hill, you're really only going to see those from either at that picture window or coming up the steps. This one here, you're actually going to see it really well from the sidewalk when you're walking out to that front entrance back there. And then you'll see that bubbling rock boulder, secondary origination point there. We're going to have our tall stones here. Man, this is just getting so exciting. Can't wait to see how this starts coming together. Very, very happy with everything so far. Alright, so here we got our concrete cut out right where that sidewalk was for our bridge. That's the big bridge stone that we're setting in there. And it spans just between there perfectly. So we'll have a 7-inch thick bridge, and then we've got enough clearance under there for the water, gravel, and debris to flow underneath. You never want to have your bridge too close because it'll cause damming effect on the other side. When you get a lot of leaves or debris building up on the one side, then it could cause a leak. But check out what we've got going here. So over there, kind of right in front of the machine, is where that first bubbling rock origination point is going to be. We've got our deep waterfall over here. That's going to be facing right there at the tripod. But what we did is we opened this whole area up for another waterfall. And what we're trying to do is have that stream come in, twist, and when we want to have this waterfall coming almost like it's coming upstream, and then the one that comes from here is going to drop right into that, and we're going to try to get them to converge somewhere right in the middle and have that water just culminate almost like a face-to-face battle. It should be really cool effect. Plus, from this vantage point here, when you're walking out the sidewalk over the bridge, you're going to be looking right at that waterfall. So it's going to be coming right at your face here. You'll see the side of that going down the hill, but you'll also be able to pick some of that up from the bridge or the steps over there, right where that tripod is. It's going to be incredible. We made a tremendous amount of progress today, guys. Got that waterfall in. That's gonna be so cool how that thing drops right down behind this stone here, and you're gonna have a perfect view from the steps, sidewalk. This right here is gonna be the viewing point, man. That is just an awesome interaction spot. But from there, look all what we did today. I tell you, we got here early. We were moving. Big stone there, a couple smaller ones, nice little outcropping zone. But I tell you, this is the coolest spot right here. We've got the convergence of these two streams right here. Bubbling Rock's going up there in that corner, and it's a really unique, special stone that can't wait for you guys to see. But it's gonna fall out of that, looking more like a waterfall, come twisting, hit that guy there, drop down onto that little broken shelf, and then it's gonna come right through here, and this saddle waterfall is gonna shoot it off right up there. And it's actually looking like it's going upstream because the stream is actually coming down this way. So we've got this juxtaposition of uphill, downhill, and the meeting of the water stream waterfall areas right there. That's just going to be such a neat, interesting area. A lot of twists and turns here. We've still got some accents and outcroppings to set all throughout here, but check out this huge destination stone. Just a really killer spot to come walk out on off the sidewalk there, sit down on that guy, or stand, whatever you want to do. But that's a perfect seating boulder as well to sit and put your feet in the water. You'll see the stream rolling through there and just cascading all throughout. We took out the sidewalk today, so we've got that cut open. We've got a little electrical line that we had to repair, so we haven't finished that. But there's our massive bridge stone. So that is the big 7-inch by 6-foot bridge stone. It's going to sit right where that roll of liner is, and then we're going to have water coming underneath. Right there where we've dug that out, that's about where we're going to have another waterfall. So when you're coming across this bridge, you're going to see that waterfall in here, and then it's going to disappear under the bridge, and you'll see it pop out underneath there. But I tell you, for just a few days, we have really made some progress, and this thing is going to have tons of interaction spots that you can hang out and just really get to enjoy it. Like these steps that are just walking right along this waterfall here. I tell you, this is going to be an extremely interactive stream system that is just changing the entire look of what this yard was. So we are getting ready to get to this weeping wall section here. So we're gonna set a big stone right about there, and that's gonna be our return. And then we'll have one of those little rills coming off that top tall bluff. So you can see we've got that all cut out. We got our plumbing line back there that we're gonna bring and tee off of. And then next to that one, we're gonna set another big stone with another opportunity to drop water down between there. And then we'll fill some of this in, level it off. We might need one extra little outcropping there, but this is all got to get backfilled. So we're just gonna do a little bits at a time. We only have so much room here. We got this Jap maple and the drop off over there, so we're trying to do just section by section. But this is getting to the real interesting, complicated part here. Check out this awesome bubbler. The guys were able to drill that hole all the way through there. But check out what this is going to end up doing for us. We're going to have a backer, which is going to stop that water from wanting to fill or flow to the back. We'll line that heavy, and then we're going to tilt this down. So we're really going to have like a waterfall coming from both sides facing down the hill there. It's going to be awesome. This thing is huge. It's probably one of the larger bubblers we've done for an origination source, but it's just got some really cool character. I love that ridge on the back there. This is going to provide a nice high side to edge the liner to. It should work out perfect. Can't wait to get that in place. So we've got these big boulders in place with our weep wall, and check out that little crevice right there. That's where water's going to just seep right out to, flow right down into this. And then this one here, this is going to be really neat. We're going to have water trickling over that. It's going to come down, splash on that, roll back down onto this. But this whole area here is going to be visible from the window up there. This one is going to be a little hidden, but that's okay, because I really want people to take a little walk along this edge here so they can really see what's going on. So here we've got our beginnings of the wetland. This is a constructed wetland filter. We've got our aqua blocks down in there, our snorkel pondless vault box there as a clean out. Water is piped in from that pipe all the way over there, comes in. It's going to flow up right through those blocks and then come out of the gravel like a spring, and then it's just going to continue and flow right down through the stream. So we started off with redoing these ledge steps. If you remember, they were just kind of a uninteresting, kind of a rectangular shaped step that just was really uninteresting as far as how it went up through the hillside. And I luckily was able to convince the client to redo these, and I'm so glad that they did. For one, I love working steps alongside waterfalls. It is just one of my favorite things to be able to do, because people want to see the water. Let's make that possible for them. So taking big, long, irregular, like diving board steps like this allows that opportunity. You can walk right out to the edge of this and literally almost touch the water and see all the details. The other thing we're able to do is also take this really funky, kind of almost triangular shaped one and double it as a step, as well as a big platform viewing stone where someone can almost take and look right off or sit right off the edge and put their feet in the water if they want, or they can jump over and sit on that big seating boulder just as well. That takes you up to that sidewalk, which then takes you all the way over to the other side, which crosses the bridge, but not too soon, because we gotta check this section out here. This is that 45-foot pondless section that goes all the way up there, has that little weep section. We actually kind of switched some of those up, the way that the grade and the stones worked out. But check out this culmination of where these two come together. Such a cool area here where all that water converges all at once. It's coming through there and just rolling through that whole section, moving and dancing. We've got this multi-tiered fall here. We've got a little bit of a pool. It really just is mind-blowing how awesome and natural this feature came out. Here's a couple of those little weep areas where we just found perfect stones that had enough of a little crevice that we were able to push some water right through that to make it look like it's just kind of bleeding out of that hillside, which is what you would see in nature. Again, my design concept here was to have this really tall, high, almost cliff or bluff-like effect, have the low side here, the stream running along the base, and have these little tributary weep sections feeding into each one of these. So this thing is really viewable from that upper section. We've got these really cool little steps on this stone. This one you're just barely seeing kind of the tail of the splash, where it interests people to want to walk along this path. This was always designed to be kind of a walking slash ground cover path. Whether they leave it mulch or cover it with a little plant material and ground cover to soften this up. But I wanted people to walk and take this experience when they're going out towards the volleyball court and the barn, so they can see all the intricacies and the details of this entire section here. The client had us add an additional little bubbling section there, which we totally were game for, because we had this little pocket that was viewable from that big window up there. That's where they're seeing all of this from inside the house at night, during the day, whenever. And then we've got our wetland filter up here where the water is just percolating up through this gravel, but we ended up drawing and changing the location of one of those because we still had this high section over here with these really cool big tall vertical stones that we wanted to draw people's attention to and get that water dropping right through there. So here's our big blockers and kind of accents so that no one accidentally wants to drive off of the edge of this with the driveway at night. Potentially that big massive stone back there was the one that we had trouble getting unloaded because it was so heavy, but it worked out that it provides dual purpose. It gives us the backdrop back here that gives kind of some purpose for all these stones and the stream itself, but also we get this view from this vantage point over here that gives you a really nice look. And you can tell if you get a little planting going along the front of that just to kind of decorate and accent that thing, that's just going to look like it's naturally been there forever. So this is that upper section here. Came out just unbelievable. At night this thing is lit up. It is just a nice little piece of heaven out here in the middle of their property. Really forceful waterfall with all the pumps running through here, getting a lot of sound so that they're hearing it from probably inside when they open up some of those windows, but attracting the animal life that we want to attract. Clients actually just asked, they're gonna have us or somebody put in a nice little flagstone patio here and maybe a little portable fire pit because they love it so much. They wanted to have an area right here that they could actually sit and entertain and enjoy this whole system. But man, I tell you, the details on these waterfalls as we go up here are just incredible. Some of these boulders just had the perfect little nooks and crannies for us to push that water through. I love how it drops right between those two. That one boulder there actually is this entire waterfall. This is a separate one here, but that cut in that was intentionally placed there to have that water do exactly what we want to do, make it look like it just eroded that, and that's exactly what it looks like. It's just so cool how we were able to play with the stones. And I love the aspect of this stone here. You see how that water just barely comes to the edge, and then we tilted it and it rolls back, so we don't actually get water coming off the front. There's a little bit that comes around that side there, but the majority of it just rolls right back and then turns and comes through that whole section. Very similar to this section here, where we've got this little island stone kind of peeking out, and then the water kind of splits, goes around, and then this draws right through that little chute to give us a picked up change in velocity of that water. So with all the elevation changes, we were able to kind of outcrop and really retain a lot of different areas that really made this thing come alive and feel like, hey, this was always here. The water kind of cut through and eroded this out to leave what we have existing. And that's what you'll often see in nature, where the water is cut out and left the stone along the bank. Same thing, much like this waterfall here, where we have really, back from this view, you're only seeing just a small window of that. And that was intentionally done because I want people to come out and explore and look and see. That waterfall is actually a lot wider on both sides. If you see how that thing kind of comes together, we choked it down in the front because that looks just like that. Hey, that water eventually eroded and cut that stone away, leaving this big open crevice. That was the intended design of how we did this feature. And then one of the other cool aspects of this, we've got this uphill downhill stream combination where we've got this coming through here, and it actually is flowing uphill to a degree, or at least in the direction of it, because this other one is coming the other way. But what it does is it creates this really cool yeti where that water kind of culminates and swirls around before it goes down through that stream. So we've got this secondary source over here that we designed intentionally to be a bubbling rock because we wanted to have some elevation. You can imagine right now it's kind of flat out here, and that was part of the problem, was we didn't want to artificially build up and create a waterfall. It would have looked contrived, so we wanted to try to give an ornamental aspect to this. But this stone was one of the coolest bubbling rock stones, well, second coolest, because the one in the front is probably just as cool. I'll show you that one here in a second. But it actually had its own framing in the back. It has water falling off of both the front side and the right hand to get sound bouncing all throughout here. But as someone's walking along the sidewalk, they're gonna catch the sight of that and the sound because that water is falling in that direction. So just a really cool way to start off a water feature so that we get some height in an area where we didn't have it. But imagine once these things get planted up along the sides, this thing's really going to get brought down in scale, so it won't look so built up there with that stone. But we wanted to have a vertical element there so that they would see that from the front door and that front or that side bay window that they look out all the time. And then check out the bridge and the crossing. One of the coolest aspects of this feature. You're forced to interact with it every time you come in to the front entrance of the home. You're crossing over that feature. Took out that big section of concrete, big ledge bridge there, and stream running right over it. We have this really awesome destination boulder that you can step right off of the sidewalk, step right to the edge, sit on there, put your feet in the water if you wanted to, and just observe the whole feature. But that's not all. We also have this extra waterfall from the other third origination point that you get to see when you walk by over this bridge. So this is your path when you're leaving the property. When you're coming in, you're going to be walking like this. So you're going to see, boom, right there, Bubbling Rock Waterfall. We've got this perfectly framed out little window right there for you to see that and hear that water. So you're immediately going to have your interest piqued as you come in through the gate. And then you're going to see this bridge and see the water flowing, and then you're going to look over there and see another section there, which again, we did a bubbling rock with some elevation so that we could actually get some height because we wanted people to see it from that porch over there. So that is what exactly we did, get this thing viewable from as many points as we can. So a nice subtle little waterfall framed out by some really huge massive boulders. Then that goes underneath the thing, or the bridge there. We've got plenty of elevation there, no problems with leaves and debris getting caught up underneath that. I love how that's really cut down in there. It just gives it a really unique look. Then we've got another really cool waterfall where it's kind of splitting around that stone and then culminating in the front, giving us a really natural effect. And then we've got this third origination point with this bubbling rock, and actually the guys added kind of almost a fourth with this little extra jet pushing water out instead of just dumping it right into that bottom stream to increase the flow. We've just added an additional little section of the feature there. Had one extra big accent that is just beautiful from both sides. Very, very cool weathered chunk of Missouri limestone. But what that does is give us a nice backdrop to the feature from that side, and then we also have a accent framing rock to the garden in that section. So when people come up, they're going to see the back side of that neat looking stone. From this side, it kind of provides us a little bit of just a backdrop to kind of give us some purpose for some of this. And again, once this all gets planted up through here, it's going to get softened up and you won't even really notice it. You'll just see the peak of it. It looks a little tall right now, standing on its own, but imagine if you got plants and shrubs that are almost as tall as that spirea and some of these azaleas here on the right, what that's going to do. You'll cover up a big chunk of that. So all I wanted was to see the very tippy top of that to give a hint that there actually is stone that existed in this entire area. I am so happy with how this thing came out. I cannot even explain. It is just one of the most unique, amazing features that we've ever done. And it's just the perfect setting for all of these waterfalls in a really cool area. So that's a wrap, guys. This thing is one for the books. The client is actually talking about honoring us and making a bronze plaque that has our signatures on it, because he felt that this was such an art piece and we were so enthralled and enthused with that concept that we may start trying to do some of that ourselves. But he is going to do that on his own accord and have this probably in multiple spots, because they are so in love with this feature, and can you blame them? I am as well in love with how that thing came out, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. Stay tuned. Look forward to showing you guys some of the next creations that we're doing.